Excited about school time starting. Last Sunday, I was trying to finish a series, so I didn't preach about going back to school or anything, but I plan to do so this morning. A very simple lesson, but one that I feel will be helpful. You know, I get excited every time that school year rolls around. Ever since I was a child, I didn't like school, but I got excited about going back to school because that's where you got to see the friends. You know, and when you got to go see your friends and have a good time, and the hallway wasn't much fun when I was sent to the hallway, but or the principal's office. But I enjoyed school, and I remember school supply shopping, and that was always fun. Some of you in here remember the Trapper Keepers, you know, and I was watching a show the other day that was depicting the 80s, and it showed the Trapper Keepers, and that's what we would have. And now I think some of this stuff is coming full circuit. For some of you, you remember getting your pencil box to carry to class. That's what my grandparents always talked about. They remembered when they went to school, they got a pencil box, and it was literally a box, a wooden box to keep some pencils in. And my grandma, I remember her showing me hers. The top would slide out, and it was a ruler that she could use, and she was so proud of that. So no matter what your age is in here, I think you can look back and kind of remember going back to school and the excitement that you have. And then there was that dread too. And I understand the dread that you're going to have when you go to school, because I dreaded it. Homework. Liam's yet to have homework, and at least of what he's told me. And then Aiden is already right into it. And I walked in the room the other morning, and he was working on his math homework. And I can't help him with that math homework because it's beyond me. But so you dread that. You dread new schools, new people sometimes, moving around, growing up. I had to start several new schools, and there's a lot of trepidation that you have of walking in, finding those new people. New teachers. Is your teacher going to be nice to you? Or is she mean? You know, and so we think about the teachers. And then the teachers have trepidation as well. They're excited because the new school year, but then you got all those little rugrats to have to look at, and are they going to behave? Or do you have that child that nobody wants? You know, you always have that one child in every grade that we had. I think my school called them Guyton, but they you know, and so you dread that, but it's important. I was reading an article the other day talking about how much influence that the school system will have upon children. And to the teachers that are in here, I applaud you in what you do, because you have a great influence on those children's lives. I watched another video this past week or week ago, and it was a coach, and he was back teaching at the school that he came from. And it was really motivational to watch. I don't know why I clicked it, but I did. I'm glad I did. Because I didn't, as he was beginning his talk, he talked about he was a kid in school that would get in trouble, didn't do homework, that he didn't always do very well, but teachers took interest in him. Come to find out, he was the child that came from a home that parents weren't involved, that he didn't always have clean clothes to be able to wear. His home was a very poor environment, but he could always count on coming to school and having a good teacher to influence him. And then here he was today with his own family. He himself being a teacher, a coach, very successful in what he was doing. And he said it was because of those that were in that room that influenced him to where he was today, or where he is today. And I think a lot about that, and the teachers and the responsibility that you have and the blessing that you have to touch the lives of these young students. And so I went this week trying to think, all right, what am I going to preach that would help back to school? I know you've been in there a week. I hope you hung in there this week. So for the rest of the school year, what could I preach that would help? And my mind kept going back to Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25 and following. Now, in the context of Ephesians chapter 4, I understand that that's talking about the new man that we put on when we're in Christ. But there are some things that he talks about that as the new man, created after God in righteousness and in holiness, there are certain things that we are, that we do. And I started thinking about these and reading this, and I realized this is what students need to do in order to have a good school year. And this is what teachers need to do in order to have a good school year. And none of this is complicated. It's simple. It's very easy. But if talking with my children and talking with other young people, this is the advice I would give them. And not only them, but to a boss or employees, I would tell them that these principles would help them to be able to have good experience in the workplace. If you want to deal with your neighbors in a positive way, and we all know of situations where neighbors are at odds with one another, how can we interact with other people that will let our light shine, that they may see our good works and glorify the Father? Because whether we realize it or not, every day we walk the face of this earth is an opportunity for us to lead somebody closer to Jesus Christ or to drive them further away from Him. And so I'm going to focus in, hopefully, and make this apply to the students and the teachers that are present. But do not think that I'm not in school and I'm not a teacher, so this lesson doesn't apply to me. Don't tune me out. Don't go to sleep just yet. But listen to this, because you can take these same principles and apply them in whatever part of life that you find yourself in, and apply them to help to be able to let your light shine before men. Verse 25, wherefore, put away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Now, certainly this talks about within the body of Jesus Christ when he says that we're members one of another. But if we can take this principle of put away lying, you will have a good school year this year and let your light shine. Now, as a student, there's several ways I can apply this to you. Don't lie to your parents. When they sit there and they ask you, do you have homework? See, I made that mistake a lot of times because I wanted to go play. I wanted to go out there and do other things because I know Mama and Daddy would tell me, well, you need to sit down and do your homework. So they say, do you have homework? Nope, don't have homework today. Well, that's lying. Now, certainly that doesn't help me whenever it comes to my schoolwork. But what's even worse about it is that lying is a sin. Revelation chapter 21, verse 8 tells us that all liars will have their part in the lake of fire. Talking about hell. And so you don't want to lie. When your school teacher asks you a question, you need to tell them the truth. When your friends are to ask you questions, you need to tell the truth. Don't lie. Now, that seems so simple, I know, but think in life how we mess this up. Take politicians. That's just easy, right? It's the easy go-to. Up in Washington, D.C., how much more could we get done if the politicians would stop lying to one another and realize you're all on the same team, you're all trying to accomplish the same goal, and so tell the truth. See, something I didn't realize, young people, I hope you listen to me during this sermon because I'm really targeting this towards y'all, is that you need to realize your teacher is there to help you. Your teacher does not want to look at you again next year. She doesn't want to fail you. She wants you to learn the material, to move on to the next class, and then one day she can sit there when you're graduating and say, oh, I taught him. She doesn't want to fail you. So when your teacher asks you a question, you tell them the truth. If you forgot to do your homework, don't make up a lie. They always say my dog ate it. I've yet to see the dog that truly eats somebody else's homework. Maybe they're really out there. But we talk about those excuses, but those excuses are actually just lies. And they will hurt our influence upon other people, and they will separate us from God because it's a sin. But not only that, but it will hinder our teacher from being able to help us. Go to him, tell him the truth. Look, I forgot it. Last night I messed up. I didn't take my book home. Tell them the truth. Teachers, it would apply as well. I didn't think as many of illustrations upon that as far as lying because I don't know what teachers quite would lie about. It doesn't seem to make much sense about why they would lie, but you don't lie. You tell the truth. When we are a person that tells the truth, then that's when we let our light shine. That they can be counted on, that they can be trusted. Verse 26. Be angry and sin not. This school year, you are going to get angry. Maybe I need to talk to teachers about this one first. You are going to get angry at those students. Don't throw something across the room at them. Now, I know that seems like that doesn't need to be said, but there's actually been cases in which teachers have gotten so angry that they begin to cuss, they begin to throw things, they pitch tantrums. I had a math teacher that I woke up in class one day, and she was standing on her desk jumping up and down, and she was very angry at that time. Come to find out, 80% of us were asleep. She was a math teacher. And so she got really angry within there. You know, if you deal with students, you're going to get angry. When you deal with parents, you're going to get angry. I get that. But don't allow it to cause you to sin. Be ye angry and sin not. Every one of these opportunities when we become angry is an opportunity for us to let our light shine, to show other people how we handle things as a child of God. Students are going to get angry. You're going to get mad at your teacher sometimes. I used to get upset at my teacher. I couldn't understand why they were doing the things they were doing. I got so mad at my teacher one time because it was my friend that did something wrong, but she blamed me. And that wasn't right. It wasn't fair. You know, and I got angry. And so you think, you know, be ye angry and sin not. Simple. But I went out in the hallway because she sent me out there to my favorite spot. And it wasn't my fault that time. And so I banged my head on the wall, you know, and I started just sitting there trying to disturb class. Ended up being paddled, sent home, and got another whooping at home over it. You know, and she told me later, she apologized to me. And she said, you know, if you wanted to behave the way you did after that, once I figured out that I had the wrong person, you wouldn't have been in trouble anymore. But what did I do? I got angry and I sinned. And that's not right. So sometimes you're going to get angry. You're going to get angry at other people. Y'all, bullying stuff is just, it's not good. It's not right. I think sometimes it's blown out of proportion, but at the same time, it's not good. But you know, some people are going to do things against you this year, and you just got to be ready for that. You know, I tell these guys that are on training to be preachers, to be leaders in the church, just understand there's going to be times that you'll be mistreated. People are going to talk about you. They're going to give you undue criticism. Be ready for it. If you don't want that, then don't be a preacher. We just need to understand you don't have a choice of being a student. When you go to school and you're there are going to be people that are going to do things against you that's wrong. But we don't allow our anger from that to cause us to retaliate. You don't need to go upon Facebook because somebody said something about you and then you go on their wall and start saying something about them. That gets you in trouble. Be ye angry. You're going to be angry. I get that. But don't sin. Don't start a rumor. And we're going to talk about this, about that person because she stole your boyfriend or he stole your girlfriend. I'll make sure I say this right nowadays. Don't let yourself get so angry that in reality you're hurting yourself. I look back in life at the way I handled certain situations and I realize, and about the time I finally figured this out, is that I allowed this boy that was a bully to pester me, and I'd get mad, and then I'd get in a fight with him. And at least 4 times Barrett Evans caused me to be suspended from school. Now, 4 times I did. But he knew how to push my buttons. He made me mad. And as I would, I'd fight back and I'd whoop him. And Daddy told me one day, he said, you realize with him making you angry, he's causing you to hurt yourself. He's at school today. You're not. What have you proven? What have you done? You're only hurting yourself. And once Daddy got that through in my head, it took a little while, but once he got it through, I realized, don't hurt yourself because you get angry. Don't sin. Take the high road. 3, don't give place to the devil. Do not give place to the devil. Some people think that this verse shouldn't be divided right here, and I can get that because when you're angry, you're giving place, and you allow yourself to sin, you're giving place to the devil. But I think you can treat it as its own third point within there, is you don't let the devil get into your heart. You don't give him a place. That means that you can be very careful, students, about who it is that you allow to be your friends at school. Because Satan will use your friendships to corrupt you. You don't let false teachings into your life. I've realized when you go to school today, there's some things that are being taught that you don't really, that aren't really accurate or true. I'll give you for one, the earth is only roughly around 8,000 years old. And there's a lot of stuff in textbooks that say, talking about millions of years old. And so when you go to school, you start hearing all that. I pray that your parents are doing a good enough job and that we are doing a good enough job in the classrooms and in the preaching here that you understand that that's not true. That this world was not created by evolution, but it was created by God. But do not let these things creep into your mind that they may be true, because that's Satan gaining ground. Teachers, don't give place to the devil. Don't allow him to influence you. Always stand your ground for what is truth. I know as teachers that there are those, and I have good Christian friends that are teachers that teach science and other subjects related, and they always make sure that as they are required to teach certain things, they say, the textbook says. There are some people that believe this, but then they are allowed to teach on the other side of it as well, and they make sure that they present both sides, presented as theories. They make sure they draw those distinctions. What are they doing? They're making sure they don't give place to the devil. Don't allow him in. Fourth, let him that stole steal no more. So don't steal. That's your fourth thing. Don't lie. When you get angry, don't sin. Don't let Satan near you, and don't steal. Now that seems almost redundant to have to say, but y'all, the biggest places of thievery, I believe, are the school systems. I really do believe that. I didn't think that about the teachers until recently. I was talking to a school teacher, and I won't reveal who she was. She's not a member of this congregation elsewhere, but she's a good Christian. She was talking about how her stuff gets stolen from the classroom all the time. That she buys things like staplers and hole punches, and she finds them all over the school. And there's her name on the bottom of it, but some teacher had taken it and took off. And y'all, I've even known teachers to go into other teachers' rooms and to steal drugs from those rooms. We like to think, well, that's not teachers' problems, but it is. And so just don't take what's not yours. Students, same thing. Don't take something that's not yours. Don't steal. You don't take, if you need to borrow a pencil, then you ask for it. If you need to borrow a piece of paper, ask for it, because that's not stealing. Because they allow you to have it. Don't go into somebody else's purse. Don't go into a backpack. Do not steal. Because if you start taking stuff that's not yours, not only is it a sin, but it hurts that influence you have as a child of God, as one that believes in the Bible, that needs to lead to letting his light shine. And so you don't take what's not yours. I don't care if you have, if you don't have something, they have it, and you don't think it's not fair, you don't take it from them within there. Don't take somebody else's lunch. Now, that seems simple, right? But how many times do we know of a kid taking somebody else's lunch? But let me read the rest of this verse, because I think there's a principle that we can even let our light shine just a little bit more. He says, let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Is that this new man that it talks about in this passage is not only one that will not steal, but he's one that's going to work with his hands so he can give to somebody else. So you're not only going to be the one that doesn't steal, but you're going to be the one that has a caring, giving heart that you can give to other people. And so as a student, here's a way that you can do that to fulfill what this passage is talking about, is if you can take an extra pencil or two, and you see the person sitting next to you doesn't have the pencil they need, here, would you like a pencil? What are you then doing? Letting your light shine that they can see your good works and glorify the Father. Have extra paper and give it to them. I know a family that they always pack extra food in a lunchbox so that they can give, that their children can give to those around that might not have enough food that day. I know this going into parents, I know parents that have the mindset that what they'll do is whenever there's field trips, things like that, and they say, hey, we need $20 sent for this or $10 sent for that. A lot of times they will send double the money with a little note and just say, if there's a child that's not able to pay, use this money towards them. What are you doing when you do that? Not only are you not stealing, that's the first part of this, is that you have labored with your hands so that you can give and share with other people. Some of the best teachers I've known in school were some of the most giving teachers. And I know it's difficult on them because I don't think teachers are Teachers, firefighters, policemen, they ain't ever paid enough in my estimation. Soldiers, we can't ever pay them enough for what they do, but we need to value our teachers. I know funds are limited, but I can remember teachers that if you go in there and you didn't have something you need that day, they found a way of providing that. What is the heart? It's to give, not to take. 5 would be, let no corrupt, verse 29, communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. It means use your words in positive ways. No corrupt communication. Now, certainly, young folks, that means, we need to make sure we're not using cuss words. That would be a part of it, profanity. We don't want profanity coming out of our mouths. But it's more than that. It's not all of it. We want to make sure that our words are building each other up. When we talk to our friends, we want to encourage them. We don't want to be a part of whispering and gossip and backbiting. Don't want to be a part of that corrupt communication. It's a big problem in schools, y'all. When I was in Ackerman, one of the biggest problems we had in Ackerman in the school systems, as far as law enforcement goes, were the fights in the park. It was up on a hill. It was a great place for them to fight because they could see us coming as law enforcement, and so they'd have their fight, and then they'd have a watchman up there. And every single one of these fights, as we would have to go up there and deal with it and investigate, you know what it started from? Was somebody running their mouth. Every single time. And it's because, they said something about my girlfriend, or they said something about the mama, or they said something about the daddy, or they said that she did something with somebody, and they, and it all came because of the communication coming from the mouth. So the old saying, if you don't have anything good to say nothing at all, applies, guys. And if you find yourself only using your words to edification, to build up, then you won't find yourself in the midst of the rumors and the gossiping and all that. Be the encourager. Barnabas in the Bible was known as being an encourager. Not only giving of his means to support, but by the words in which he used. Be the one that encourages your neighbor, not the one that will tear him down. Teachers the same way. I've seen teachers that when we walked in the room, all they did was say something negative. They would be harsh. Their words would be sharp. But then there were other teachers that you walked in, and man, their words were always encouraging, uplifting. I'll remind you, you don't know what these children are going through in the home. You don't know what they faced. And oftentimes the ones that have the most difficulty with behavioral problems, there is the worst situation at the house. Remember that when you use your words. And while you may want to yell at them, I don't know what the schools allow you to do nowadays. Used to, you could do a lot more with rulers and paddles and stuff, but you can't do that. You may want to yell at them. You may want to tell them what an awful job you're doing. You may want to use your words some way, but use your words to encourage them. I know this is, we talk about back to school. Let's talk about parents within here as well. Parents, we need to use our words for the building up. Encourage them. Tell your children that they're doing well. When they're struggling, talk to them about it. Use your words to build them up. And then the last part I'll just say is verse 32. Be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another. That's so simple, isn't it? Be kind. Be kind. This comes in our words. It comes in our actions. It summarizes really everything we talked about in this lesson. It's just you be kind to each other. If you be kind to your teacher. I remember we had a teacher that we made cry, and she ran out of the classroom one time. I look back to that and I feel really bad. Really, really bad about that. She was a substitute teacher, and she didn't know how to handle us. But we ought to be ashamed of ourselves, because that wasn't a very kind thing to do. Now just imagine if all of a sudden that substitute teacher decided to visit church. I would have felt awful. I'd have felt really bad then, wouldn't I? Be kind. Be kind to your teacher. Because if all of a sudden the students are being kind to the teacher, then let me give you a tip, guys, young folks. If you're kind to the teacher's more likely to be kind to you. And so it helps you out in the classroom as well. But teachers, you be kind to the students. You can encourage them to love learning and knowledge just through kindness. Be kind to the parents. And parents, be kind to the teacher. We're back to school. That's an important part of the relationship as parents to the teachers and teachers to parents. And we need more of the involvement in the schools, supporting our schools. And, your child has a problem. Don't go jump on that teacher, y'all. Realize that when you go deal with that school and they find out you're a part of this congregation, you represent this congregation as well. Go talk to the teacher. Be kind to the teacher. Say, what can I do to help you? What can I do to encourage you? Do you need more resources? You see how this works? Be kind. So simple. I told you at the outset, this is not a complicated sermon. It's not complex. I may have even preached these aspects before in a different way based upon the new man. But this new man is exactly what we need to be in this life. And if we go into the school year, young people, and you learn these things, just do not lie. When you get angry, don't sin. Don't give place to the devil. Don't steal, but rather give. No corrupt communication, and be kind. Man, you're going to have a great school year this year, and it's going to be wonderful and awesome because it's going to equip you for life. It's going to help you be prepared and ready to face the future, and you're learning important stuff. I wish I could go back and go through school all over again now. I wasted so many years there not appreciating that. All this English stuff. I wish I could send a bunch of our students in the school back through English back then, and it would make Jared's job a whole lot easier on him. Learn these things, because when you know English, then you're going to know how to study the Bible. Young guys, listen to me. The things you learn in school right now, it's what's going to help you be able to have a job to provide for your wife one day. To be able to be the father that you need to be. School is so important. You want it to be a good year, follow this right here and it'll work. Teachers, do this so you can be a shining light into this community. And the reality is, this new man that we just talked about that does these things is what we need in society today. If you're going to have a neighbor move in next door to you, you ever get worried about that, who your neighbor's going to be? It can make it miserable, can't it? I had a neighbor that lived next to me here before, and y'all, when I moved back, I was so glad to find out he didn't live there anymore. It was miserable. I got some good neighbors now. What kind of person would you want moving in next door? The man we just described, isn't it? That's the man we all need to be. How are we to be that man, though? It's when we give ourselves to God to be Christ-like. That's when we have that new man, when we put Christ on in baptism, because of the faith that we have in him, that we say we want to sacrifice our life as a living sacrifice to him through our faith, through confession, through repentance, through baptism. And we can be that shining light into the community that is so desperately needed. If you're not a child of God this morning, we encourage you to become one. If you're an erring child of God, we encourage you to come back. Our prayers are with each individual that is dealing with the school system this year, because you are so important. But let me tell you, everyone here is important. So much that God loved you that he sent his son to die for you, to pay the price for the sins that you have committed. If you haven't obtained the forgiveness of sins that you're needed, that you are in desperate need of, we encourage you together, we stand and sing.